Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Amazing. It's quite the weather that we're having right now, considering I feel like I haven't seen rain in so long in Denver.
I'm loving it.
I'm so excited. I really need the weather temperature to drop quite a bit. Quite a bit.
I do, I do too. It's like definitely sorry, I'm turning my air conditioning on as we speak of this. I hate the heat, like the really hot heat. Like I love like a 70, 80 degree,
Mm-hmm.
great. Like the 90 degree going from the car to inside.
Yeah. Or just even going from inside to your car, or even like outside into your car, like going on a hike and then getting into your car and then being suffocated and hotboxed in your own vehicle is like a form of torture.
Of course, because of who I am, I live in Colorado. I have a Subaru, but it's black
Naturally.
and the leather is black.
Mm.
And so it's like,
Recipe for disaster. Yep. And burning your thighs.
yeah, I like actually do think I burned myself once. It's nice in the winter,
Yep.
especially when I didn't have a garage and like leaving it outside. It's like, oh, okay, but like I'll get into the car and it says it's 110 degrees in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay,
Yep. Let's air it out. Let's open up the doors. Keep it cool.
exactly.
Well, anyways, thanks so much for coming on. Jen, do you want to give an introduction as to who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. My name is Jenna. I am a two-time small business owner. So I have an HR consulting firm, but I also have a tarot business. And so um that's what we're here to discuss is the tarot business, Golden Daughter. And it um is a very fun business for me. I didn't start it as a business. I thought, okay, I'm just going to do this on the side. And,
Mm-hmm.
I have a Capricorn and it very quickly turned into a business. So I primarily do with that business intuitive consulting, which is basically helping people going through life or career transition,
Mm-hmm.
help them get more of like a holistic guidance. So I help with like, okay, here's the actual business plan. This is what you need to do. But like, what are your blocks? What are we not seeing? What do we need to focus on? So using
Mm-hmm.
tarot as a tool to create more of like a holistic plan to get you to keep going. So
Yeah.
if you're confused, if you are maybe you like got a brand new job and you're feeling like a fish out of water, or you're getting ready to launch your own business or do something along those lines. So I basically like help people with their businesses or their lives, but using tarot to create sort of like the groundwork of this is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah. And I feel like you made that transition sound like it was such a natural thing of like, oh, I'm just gonna like start this business on a whim and it's gonna be super easy. Like, talk to me about that process and what that was like of like, I can read tarot and I guess I'll start a business now. Like, what?
It's so funny. I know it's now that you say that, it did sort of feel like it just fell into place with the with
Mm-hmm.
this business. I think because I love it and I'm passionate about it, but I started reading tarot, I want to say during COVID.
Okay.
I've always, and we can get into this more later, I've always had like some psychic gifts that I
Mm-hmm.
maybe didn't pay attention to or denied or what have you. But I really started getting seriously into tarot during COVID and was like watching videos and teaching myself how to do it and just like trying to like absorb all the information. Last year, yeah, it would have been last year in April. I quit my corporate job and had been reading tarot. I was working in HR, but I started doing like doing tarot readings for people, and I made an Instagram, which was like very foreign to me. I do not like to be perceived, and so like the entry to social media was like tough.
Warped your brain. Yep.
Totally, totally. So it's that was hard for me, but I started doing that, and then I was like, wait, this is like very fulfilling to me. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy this. And I think that, for the first couple of months, I was getting like used to doing it professionally and are people receptive to this? How is this going? And then I sort of like started branching out. I was doing events. I was, doing these things. But what I really saw, which was fascinating to me, 80%, 80 to 90% of my clients came to me for career readings. And so I think very much that it's like the energy you put out is sort of like what, gets drawn to you.
A
And so
hundred
people were
percent.
just like, I'm sort of like the business tarot girl. And so, it started just organically take off in that
Mm-hmm.
way. And so I just sort of went with it and I tried a few things. So I started originally I did like monthly tarot readings like month ahead. So I'd talk about, like what's the vibe, what's the opportunity, what's the challenge, what's the advice. I would
Mm-hmm.
like before when I first started out, I was just like texting them to my friends. And then now that's
And
like,
these
I
are just
offer.
like general readings, right? Like kind of like horoscope of like, hey, here's what's coming in the month of July.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And so
okay.
I still actually still do those for the collective on my Instagram. So I'll do
Mm-hmm.
like the zodiac season. So if it's like, Leo season coming up, I'll go over all of that. And I love doing that.
Mm.
But so I was doing that for individuals, and then during the solstice or solstices and equinoxes, yeah.
Equinox signs?
I was like, I'm like, I don't know. Sounds weird. But a one card tarot reading. So I'd be like, what do you need to focus on for this season? So I'd
Oh.
get like a deck and I'd write it out and then mail it to you. So then it would like have a little like extra like confetti or fun thing in
Yeah.
it. And those kept selling out. And so that sort of like all of these things started happening. And I was like, wait, am I gonna like am I gonna take this seriously? Am I gonna make this a business? Just started doing it, and it ended up being, doing these career readings for people was so like lights me up. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take myself seriously here. I'm gonna see what I could do. And it just has like really flourished
Yeah.
since deciding to like being intentional and saying, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's take a go at it. And here we are.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I feel like Denver definitely cultivates a specific energy and a specific type of person that would even go to get their tarot read for something that has to do with career. And I feel like very much so there is a benefit to being in Denver for this specific trade, business, whatever you want to call it. And
Totally.
do you feel like if you would have started this maybe somewhere else that you might not have continued to pursue it because you'd be like, well, maybe this is just like a fun hobby.
This is a good question. I love that. I have to tell you, I don't know because so much of my business was virtual,
Okay.
especially starting, but it's people still think I'm crazy. Like when I go to like a networking happy hour and I'm like, yeah, I do intuitive consulting. I read tarot for people to grow their business and to like help
Mm-hmm.
them successful in their, like their chosen career. People like look at me like I'm crazy. And you know who doesn't look at me like I'm crazy? My clients who become really successful because we
Yes.
and use tarot. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I think that's such a good question. And it's so, what I think, like, part of the reason why I'm so passionate about it is like, this feels like an unused tool in the toolkit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it is so helpful. So, like, let me give you a few examples of like what people will come to me. I just
Yeah.
did a reading for somebody. She's a doctor. She was doing her residency, trying to decide on locations that she wanted to match with. And
Mm-hmm.
so we looked at like, what would your life look like in each of these locations? And then she
Okay.
decided, okay, these are the ones that I really want to prioritize when I match. Or I
Mm-hmm.
have somebody that's like they're launching a business and they have different products. And so we're looking at like, when is the most beneficial time to launch the specific products?
Mm.
Which is to me, like, another example, I had a really important phone call that I needed to take, like a business call, and
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to decide when should I schedule it. And
Yeah.
so I pulled about the different days, like 3 or 4 different days, trying to give myself options. One of the days looked awful. It looked so bad, and I'm like, this is so weird. Everything else is so positive. I'm definitely not going to do it that day.
Mm-hmm.
I even texted my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm not gonna do it Monday. This day looks bad." And he's like, "Are you sure? Like, you feel like you should get on this as soon as you can." Blah blah blah. I said, "I'm not doing it on Monday." I came home at like 11 a.m. and my air conditioning was broken, and somebody was at my house for 4 or 5 hours, and so I would have had to like have this call in 80
Yeah.
degree heat in my house. And so
Wow.
by using tarot, you
Mm-hmm.
can sort of like avoid these sort of like unknown pitfalls
Yeah.
that you might have. And I think, also what there was a very circuitous route to get to what I was going to say is so many people, I think, aren't open to it because it's woo and it's too inaccessible. I feel very strongly about making this accessible for
Mm-hmm.
people. I'm not the person that's going to like sit here and we're going to like do this like deep meditation and connect with Mother Earth, which like, I'm also like I could get into that too, right? But like that's not my brand. That's not
Yeah.
who I am. Like this is like how do you make this accessible for people in business? Like
Mm-hmm.
this needs to be something you utilize. You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah. 100%. I just made a video like probably 2 weeks ago about how most of the companies that I've worked for have had me read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and The Dichotomy of Leadership also by Jocko Willink. And I'm like, he is definitely a very accomplished man. I get that. I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook has gunfire in it. why is there gunfire in this book? I don't know. And it reminded me because the companies that I was working at the time, they were both in Boston. And it is so funny to hear you say the word woo. And like I've heard the word woo woo. And that was not a word that I had heard until I moved to Denver.
Really?
Not a word I had heard. And it was so funny because I got into tarot. I got my tarot cards read in Boston for the first time. And it completely changed my life. I really adopted the idea of spirituality and integrating it with my life. And I was the girl that was bringing crystals to work. I was the girl that was going to a tarot card reading after like a long day at work. And it was just something that I did. And it felt super weird because I really wanted to lean into it and be like, this is my identity. I really resonate with this. But it also felt like kind of forced because all my coworkers are like, what is that? Like, you believe that carrying around these crystals is going to make you feel different. You believe that, and I'm like, you're an Irish Catholic, okay? Just be quiet. Like, we all believe something a little crazy, okay? And for me, this works. And so it was also me trying to combat, like, no, I really believe in this and I'm going to go the extra mile to like feel this way. And it really wasn't until I moved to Denver that I noticed that the population here is really into spirituality, really into holistic, like earthy granola stuff, which is awesome, amazing, perfect. I love it. But you're so right. I feel like this is an underrepresented tool in the utility belt of what we can use for career and what we can use for life. And to me, I've had this extreme thought recently with everything that's going on in the world that there has been such a shift towards conservative and Christian nationalism. And for me, I feel like the renaissance of spirituality and rebirth of people like being more open to spirituality in general, whether that's tarot, whether that's crystal ball readings, whatever it is. And I feel like it has been repressed for so long because it's something that women largely do. It is something that it's like based on women's intuition, which is what I want to ask you. Are the majority of your clients that are coming to see you women or are they men?
This is such a good question. I love this question. I would say 98% of my clients are women and gay men.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and like something that I feel very strongly about with this is I like to use tarot as a tool to level the playing field. I think the system was made by men, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that men need my help. I think that if they can't figure out a way to make the system work for them, then they're a fucking idiot, right? Like
That.
that this is what I do is to help equalize
Mm-hmm.
people to like women and gay men and marginalized people to see like, hey, this is what I need to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
think two things like what you said about people being more open in Denver, this might be a hot take. I think it's because people have access to nature, which means they have access to like their own. I think people are a lot more open to like reflection. I think that
Yeah.
when you're in a big city and you're busy and you don't have time and the emphasis is work and the emphasis is sort of like pulling you away from your intuition, like we live in a culture that is like meant for you to not listen to your intuition. It's
Mm-hmm.
like consume these things, buy these things. And so people get pulled away from it. And so I think in Denver, people are more open to it simply because people choose a lifestyle that is more in line with having the space to receive intuitive downloads.
Right.
Do I think that it's intuition is like a primarily women driven thing? I have an interesting thought process about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think first, I think women are just socialized to. Okay. So my guides really like to send
Mm-hmm.
these things whenever I do readings when I'm making an important point. I think women are socialized to be perceptive. I think that it's not necessarily that women have a better intuition than men. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we are just raised to be paying attention, to
Mm.
clock these things, to notice when somebody is uneasy or something seems off or something seems weird. And then it's like with women or little girls, we are teaching them, you know what? Yeah, you can listen to this, you can pay attention to this. But it's like a boy, it's like, why are you crying? Don't cry, don't do these things. You
Mm.
can't feel these things. Like if we're shutting this down at an early age, men are never gonna do this. But do
Right.
I think men don't have access to it? Absolutely not. I think everybody has access to it. I
Mm-hmm.
just think that so this is part one of my theory, but I
Yeah.
also think that part two of the theory is that this to me runs in families. So if you see somebody that's incredibly intuitive, usually comes in their family lineage. That's a
Mm-hmm.
hill that I will die on. And it's not necessarily like, oh, my mom was a witch and we sat in the kitchen and did all these things. Like, you know what I mean? Like that. But
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you meet somebody like that's super intuitive, they'll be like, oh, yeah, my grandma used to like wake up in the middle of the night and know when somebody died. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I think that it's not necessarily like just a female thing, but I think that because women have to be so dialed into everything that it's easier for them to access their intuition, which
Okay,
is, I
yeah,
know,
I could totally get on board with that. That makes way more sense than just women are born with it, men aren't. Because I feel like there is women's intuition. I feel like that is something that people do talk about. And I feel like we, like you said, are socialized on acting on it, and we're socialized on actually acknowledging that that urge exists. And might be where that comes from. I'm not sure. But that totally makes sense, though.
yeah, it's funny because I have one of my male friends who's straight is one of the most intuitive people I've ever met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like he, we could go a couple weeks without talking and he send me a text and I'm like having a hard day and he's like, "Hey, are you having a hard day? I like feel like you're having a hard day." And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like I don't think that it's closed off to that, but I do think it's very hard to access when everyone is telling you that like having an emotion or like sensing something is wrong, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
even this goes back to when I was working in corporate HR. You think people pay attention to somebody that's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really into this like spiritual shit"? No, because it sort of almost makes people take you less seriously, which is what's to me pretty wild because why I'm so good at my job is my intuition. The
Right.
reason why I'm so good at working with people is because I can sense what's going on. I can read a room, I can clock things that other people are missing. And so, when somebody is like that's so crazy or whatever, but that's people continually sort of like beating it out of you, right? It's like, don't pay attention to this is not accepted here, this is not okay here. And so if that's just like one system, one job, think about your parents, think about your friends, think about society. Like it's not to get like so deep in the trenches here with this, but like I just think that we don't foster the ability to recognize intuition. But I think that
Mm-hmm.
everyone has access to it. I think that if it's like I had the right tools and the right open-minded person, that I could like show you an increase in their intuition and psychic abilities in like a few months.
Yeah. And I totally see where you're coming from with that because it is like this sort of untapped potential that exists in people. And
Hmm.
you don't acknowledge that you have it because other people don't like that you communicate with frequently aren't talking with you about it and they're not like, "Oh my gosh, like tell me about this." Because whenever I would tell my girlfriends about like going and get my aura read or going on like a spiritual retreat, they're like, "Good for you," but like that's it. That's all we've got for you. Like, we don't, they're very technical, analytical people, which I am too, but at the same time, also embrace this level of intuition and spirituality into my life as well. And so until I really like moved out west, it really felt like a part of myself that it was foreign to me and I struggled to find people to relate to. And it was just something that I likely had untapped potential in my intuition before I moved out here. And now that I'm out here, it feels like it's only been fostered and growing.
Well, also like the universe is like, hey, come here, come do this thing, right? Like you were drawn here for a reason, I'm sure, like for so many different reasons. But I think that it's like you do these things when you're ready, right? I have an
Mm-hmm.
acupuncturist who is definitely a psychic. I've never met anybody like her. She's wild. But she said to me, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And I
Mm-hmm.
really believe that it's like people are becoming more open to these things. And, like you said, like having friends that are like, okay, like, sure, Sarah, like, have fun, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that what was difficult for me as I first started out is like felt insane. I think a couple other people thought I was insane, and so it was really hard to sort of show up and be authentically myself because I'm like the people that are like almost all of my really good friends were fine with it. But it's difficult to sort of
Yeah.
exist in these spaces in that way. But what I also think is just as hard is like you exist in a space of, hey, you have all these friends that are very not open to this sort of stuff, right? I think that the opposite exists and is pretty dangerous. I think that there are a lot of groups of people that are like really into like spiritual psychosis. They sort of believe anything, try and see anyone to get some type of answer. They'll follow anyone. Like to me, sometimes feels culty. So like there will be
Yeah.
times where I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm open to go to this group. Like I'll try this out. And I think that it sort of is like you have to find a way to like find a balance where it's like
Yeah.
you need to pay attention to these like gut instincts and these things that like really feel true. But when you sort of like give up your own agency to these sorts of things, that's when we
Hmm.
get in trouble. And I think that that can be just as problematic as like having the friend that's like so like line in the sand, I don't really care, I'm not open to this, than having the friend that's like, oh my God, I'm so open to this, but also like I'm gonna exist in a world that doesn't really function, right? Like we have to like exist in this society. So trying to like find the happy medium, I think, is an important thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's so important to have friends like what you just expressed of saying when I started doing tarot, they were all like, "Oh yeah, like that makes sense that you're doing that." So, was this something that you had shown your friends that you have like these innate abilities, or was this something that you recognized before even doing tarot? Like you mentioned that you had some sort of premonition that you had this ability, but you never acted on it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have to tell you, I've had this probably my whole life. I think most people do,
Mm-hmm.
especially like hyper intuitive people, but it's sort of like with, like we talk about like time and space, it gets a little bit turned down, a little bit dialed down. There were a few times that I knew that it's like things as simple as like, I know that this person's going to call me today, or I feel this coming through, or like stuff like that. Really, really easy for me to clock people.
Mm-hmm.
So like I know immediately when I meet somebody how their energy is, and it's oftentimes gotten me in trouble because it makes me seem judgmental instead of being like, wow, you don't have access to my energy because this is a mess.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily know that that's what it was. But there was a time a few years ago. There was like these both happened in one week that I was sort of like, okay, we're gonna pay attention to this.
Mm-hmm.
Had been having dreams, and people who had passed were giving me messages to give to their loved ones, but it was all people that I knew. And so I was like, I can chalk this up to like I'm just having a dream, and like this,
Mm-hmm.
I knew who this was. And I had a dream about my prom date's dad. I have not spoken to my prom date in at least 10 years. Okay, he's a great guy, but like we just
Yeah.
went in two separate directions.
Right.
We weren't in a relationship, but we were good friends. Anyways, I have a dream about his dad, and his dad was like, hey, I need you to tell him that I'm with him and I approve of what he's doing. Like, please just pass this message on to him. And I wake up and I'm like, why did I just have this dream? His dad is alive. And
Yeah.
then I thought, oh no, if I'm having this dream, his dad can't be alive. And so I looked him up. And his dad had passed. And I was like, this is nutty. But I'm going to
Yeah.
send him a text because he's going to think I'm insane. Again, an example of like, I don't know, I haven't talked to you. It's not like I like saw him on
Yeah.
social media, like there was, Anyways, sent him his text. And I said, hey, your dad like really wanted me to tell you that he's with you and he approves of what you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, I can't believe you just texted me this. I just bought a house with the money he left me, and I was wondering if he like approved of me using my money to do this or using his
Wow.
money. Like, which really, really was very special to me, but also I was like what? Like, okay, like this is incredible, but also like it really freaked me out. It really freaked me out. And
Yeah.
later that week I was driving home from acupuncture, and I was like is sitting is turning the key or turning the car on, and I thought I'm gonna get T-boned on the driver's side of my car. I'm gonna get T-boned. Like I felt it in my body. I knew it. It was like I knew it clear as day. I'm gonna get T-boned on my side of the car. So I am driving home like white knuckling. I am like looking every which way, and I'm just gonna go slow. Like this is, but like I'm also sitting there like you've lost it, Jenna. Like you need psychiatric help. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is crazy.
Yeah.
So I get to the stop sign a few blocks from my house. It's a four-way stop. I'm at the stop sign. I'm looking around. No one's in the intersection. And I just keep like, I don't know if I'm hearing it. I don't know if I'm thinking it, but it's like, do not put your foot on the gas. So I'm sitting there. At this point, somebody behind me is honking at me. And I'm still sitting there. And a biker, like like a cyclist,
Yeah.
blows a stop sign, like riding his bike through the intersection. A car blows the stop sign, hits the biker in the middle of the intersection. So had I gone, I would not only have been T-boned on the driver's side, the biker would have been sandwiched in between our cars and probably would have been killed. And so after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this seriously. I
Yeah.
have a gift, I have some type of something. I am getting some type of information that like I can't ignore. Like I can't. And sometimes I think that it's like that was, saved. I don't know how, like it could have saved somebody's life. It could, like all three of us could have been injured. But it sort of is like I had been really doubting myself and my abilities and whatever. And both of those things happened in the same week. And I was like, you know what? You're psychic and you're just going to have to get over it.
Yeah.
So that sort of was what spurred me to really pay attention to it and start believing it.
Hmm.
So, but it's it's been around for probably like I can remember as like being like 11 and still like getting thinking stuff.
Wow. That's very, very impressive. And I have always wished that I had that intuition. And I've convinced myself that I do, but then I've realized that actually, no, it's just anxiety. Sarah, no, that's just anxiety talking. So, not what you think it is.
You know what? That's something I run into commonly. I also have anxiety, so it's like sometimes it's hard. But
Hmm.
what I will say, when I was driving home, I didn't feel anxious. I just knew. And so
Yeah.
it wasn't like I wasn't panicked. I wasn't like, "Oh my gosh." It was like I knew something was happening and I felt calm about it. If I'm like super worked up about it and
Hmm.
I'm like, like feeling like anxious or whatever, then I know that that's not my intuition, that that's the
Uh,
anxiety. Also, when you say like I wish I had that intuition, I guarantee you have it. I guarantee you
yeah.
have it. Just a matter of it's also like a muscle, right? Like the
Hmm.
more you use it, the more clear it gets too. So it's like sometimes I think people have to get a message, like the universe has to scream it at you. Like sometimes
Hmm.
it's like screaming really loud. The more you pay attention to the screams, then it will become a voice and then it can become a whisper. So it's like you pay attention to it fast enough, it doesn't have to become a scream, right?
Yeah.
Something that you're like continually like, no, I'm gonna just keep whatever, it's gonna keep coming back, right? And so it's
Yeah.
just a matter of like trusting it fast enough that it doesn't have to get to the scream, that you can trust it when it's a whisper.
That's fair. That's fair. And so, when you're talking about this whisper, I'm assuming that's what is sort of speaking to you while you're doing tarot. And
Hmm.
then my question is with tarot, I just got a book from my local crystal shop of how to read tarot. And to me, it's like, oh, you're just like telling the story that's in the cards. And so, for me, it's like anybody can do this. I know not everybody can do this, or at least do it well, but
Yeah.
what is the difference? And like I know that the common rhetoric that I receive is like why like you're just assigning purpose to something, like it's not really real, blah blah blah. So how do you really, number one, differentiate the difference between like a download from the universe versus like actually the storytelling with the cards? Yeah, that'll be my first question. So how do you differentiate between like what the download is from the universe versus like just storytelling with the cards? And there might be like some connection and overlap.
No, I love this question. And I think that what is difficult too is when you think about a tarot reader and you like, historically just consider that it's like somebody that's like weaving this tale of like, this is what's going to happen in 20
Mm-hmm.
years and you're going to die. And like, like all these things. But like you say, it's like a story. It's like,
Yeah.
and I think what is so misunderstood about people that read tarot, because there are people that will take advantage of this, that are going to be able to read a person and see, okay, this is what's going on. I can tell that this is what they want to hear, or they'll feel fear monger, right? So it like
Mm,
if they tell somebody something really bad is going to happen and they continue to do this, blah blah blah, they're going to come back to you and keep paying you. And
right.
so like I think to me with storytelling, it's like you will absolutely find people out there. I've had my cards read by people like that, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
like associate with that because I actually think that's unethical. I feel very
Okay.
strongly about like I don't like to do readings super far down the line because I also believe in free will. And I think
Yeah.
that like you can change your mind and that can change the trajectory of things. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that storytelling is part of it, right? Because it sort of is like getting somebody to understand. But to me, I would say that it's a lot more of like the intuitive downloads, where like
Okay.
tarot is like the vessel of, okay, I can see what's happening, like an overarching theme from the cards, but I also like to talk to my clients. And so
Yeah.
I'll say like, hey, how is this affecting you in this way or something like that? But like
Mm,
say it's like a lot less of storytelling the way that I read, at least
okay.
like I really am like action oriented, and so I'm sort of like, hey, when you leave you're gonna have some type of like mission, right? It's even
Mm-hmm.
if the mission is to like rest or
Mm-hmm.
to like go sit in nature, right? But it's like to me a lot less about like showing the story instead of like tarot is a warning or an affirmation to me. And so
Okay.
it's sort of like, are people feeling like, yes, this is like I feel validated, or is it like, hey, we need to like really course correct right now because
Mm-hmm.
this is like headed in a direction that you might not like. And so I think that it's like, love this question because storytelling does not cross my mind once when I read. It's not, how do I get somebody to see this? It's literally
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, here's like what I'm picking up on, and like
Yeah.
how can we help? Does that answer the question? I don't know if it does, but I think that
Well,
it's
I have a
like,
follow-up now.
okay, great.
Okay, so you're getting this download, you're talking to your client, and you're trying to better understand like what they're looking to gain and all of that career-related advice slash life-related advice. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're asking the question then to you or to the deck?
So okay, I like this follow up. First of all, when I read for somebody, don't look at them. I like to look
Ah.
down at the cards because I think what happens is if they have some type of something cross their face, I'm going to pay attention to their face
Mm-hmm.
instead of paying attention to my intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really important to me, is that I'm not even, but like if you have like a tarot reader that's like really, really like hyper focused on what you're doing, then it's like, most of the readers I know don't pay attention to you. It's like
Yeah.
they're paying attention when you're channeling, you're not paying attention. But wait, I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought about, you asked about,
Whether you ask you or the cards.
oh, I ask the cards. So like
Okay.
if somebody comes in, let's say you're a client and you come in and you're like, hey, I'm looking for, I mean, like it doesn't also have to be career. I
Yeah.
do read or whatever. But like if it's like I'm considering starting my own business or taking this job at this other firm. What
Mm-hmm.
do I need to know? I will then ask, like, sometimes I'll do my own questions about like where is the energy right now? What do they need to know? So I will almost like come up with the questions in my mind and ask the deck. So
Okay.
like it's sort of like, don't even feel like their question touches my card. It's like only I touch it, right?
Sorry, it's being filtered.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's also like, I do think that part of the benefit of having me read your cards versus like you read your cards and then put it into Chat GPT
Right.
is like, I'm going to think of the questions that you might not be thinking about, or the things that you need to
Mm,
pay attention to that like you might not come up, right? So it's
right.
like if somebody's like, I want to, what do I need to know about launching my business? That is so broad. I might say, where's their biggest block? Where are they succeeding? What are their guides want them to know? And like they might not ask me any of that, but I'll pull for all of that and then tell them. It's just sort of like I trust what I feel like I need to be asking or what I need to be pulling on,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the person. And it gets refined over time, right? But it's like I think there has to be like an innate curiosity with what I do, because it's like, how do I help this person? And so it's
Right.
like to understand that like each person you see is different, and like sometimes some people need a certain message and some people really don't need that type of message. So it's like learning how to pick up a vibe, you know?
Yeah. Well, that and to me, it just sounds like you're translating to like a higher level or like whatever that spiritual level that you're conversing with so that it's able to translate to the cards. But then my next question, so my follow up to the follow up, so you ask the cards this question and then you're laying these cards out. Like, what does that do? Like, if you're just downloading it anyways, is it more of just like a visual for the client, a visual for you, or like what is
Both.
really happening with the cards?
Good question. So like for me, I don't, okay, there are different, have you heard of the clairs?
No.
Okay, so Claire, this is a really good way to explain it. Claire, so if you've heard of, it's basically like the different psychic senses or the clairs. So Claire is like clear, whatever. So clairvoyance is clear seeing. So I'm sure you've heard of somebody being like a clairvoyant, right?
Yes.
Like you ever see That's So Raven?
Yes.
She's clairvoyant, right? She like sees a vision. So
Yeah.
like clairvoyance, you're seeing something. So there are a
Hmm.
lot of psychics that are like, hey, I can like visually see this. There's clairaudience when you can hear something, or you're like hear a lyric or somebody's voice or so, something like that.
Hmm.
I have claircognizance, which is clear knowing. And so for me, I think that this is like the hardest, because it's very difficult to differentiate what is like fact and what is like being dropped into my brain, right? It's
Yeah.
like, because sometimes when I get an intuitive download, I know it, like I know the sky is blue, but I have no idea how I know, right? Like there's
Mm,
no like fact behind it. And so it's
right.
very difficult. So for me, like a lot of people that are psychic you might see them and don't read tarot cards because they can just like literally physically see it, or they can hear it, or like what they are channeling
Hmm.
is different, right? But for
Right.
me, it's like the tarot cards are basically like a proof of what is in my brain. Does that make
Mm,
sense? So it's like because I
yeah.
have the clear knowing, it's really difficult for me to like differentiate how I have this. And so for if I have the tarot cards in front of me, I'm like, hey, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what I do. And so it's, I think, a really good tool to show somebody too. Like the decks that I read for clients for are like very much geared towards like being able to like visualize things too. That's like how I like to show people.
Hmm.
But I think that for me, the cards like really put bumpers on it too, because it's like, if I didn't have tarot cards, I would just be like getting overload. Like if I go
Yeah.
into like a bar or a super crowded place or something, I feel so overwhelmed because
Hmm.
I just absorb all of it. And so tarot is like such an intentional, like, okay, hey, I am now open for this two-way communication
Yeah.
instead of it being like all over the place. So tarot was like just I would say like a tool for me to get I don't know if that's clear, but like to get it out.
Yeah, like a means of translation of, okay, here's
Mhm.
what's happening in my brain, here's what's happening from this download that I'm receiving, and here's how I can portray it. So that way we have this almost rubric of, okay, here's what's true, here's what I'm actually downloading, and what actually I'm able to represent and translate over to you who
Yeah.
isn't able to have this connection with, I don't even know what to call that, like a third eye connection. Like, what do you call that?
Good question. It's almost like I can understand it in Chinese. Like it's like if I like we're understanding something in a foreign language. Like it's like let's use Chinese for example. It's like I understand it in Chinese, but I need to explain it in English. And so
Mm-hmm.
tarot cards are like the mechanism for me to
Is
like
the Google
get it
Translate.
translated.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say it's like the connect. It's like I don't know what I channel. I don't know.
Yeah.
People have all. I would say like energy, like source energy. I'm not a particularly religious person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even like I don't really that's not my
Yeah.
boodle. But like I think I have access to some type of like ancestral something that I
Like
could
higher
just
power.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And so, okay, that then transfers me to my next question of you came up with this name of Golden Daughter. And is that something that like is that where where you're pulling from? Is like, okay, I'm pulling from Golden Daughter. Like what? How did you come up with this name?
It's so funny. I pulled cards because I couldn't I was like, what am I gonna name my business? I was also like at the time deciding what to name my HR consulting firm. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pull a card. And so I went in and I literally said, show me a card of like what you want me to like name my business. And so as I was naming both of them, I pulled, and I'm using two different decks. One's a tarot deck, one's an oracle deck. It's like you cannot make this shit up. There is in the tarot deck a woman with gold wings, like it's like basically like a golden woman wearing golden, or like she's not wearing them, she like has them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pulled another card in another deck, and it was a woman with gold wings. And I was like, this is, you guys are like so crazy. But so I have to do wings or like do something with that. So that was like the HR business. But I was like, golden needs to be the theme. And at that point, because of who I am as a person, I'm a Capricorn. Like I've mentioned before, I love business. I sort
Mm-hmm.
of knew that I was going to have a number of businesses, but that I might not want them to like be all the same thing. So I like wanted to
Mm-hmm.
have like a thread. So golden would be the thread. But then I was thinking about too, I had seen a medium recently and thinking about like how she was talking about my great great grandpa and just like thinking about how this has all been passed down and how like it's like I'm somebody's daughter, but it's also like
Mm-hmm.
collectively everyone is somebody's like daughter or son. And so it's more of like just like I am here because of the people that were here before me.
Mm-hmm.
That felt important to me, but like it's like I'm not the adult here, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
mean I am, but like I have access to all of his wisdom that
Yeah.
isn't necessarily mine, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it sort of is reaping the rewards of this as like a daughter, if you will. That
Yeah.
was a
No. No, no, no.
explanation, but
It totally makes sense. And you want to know what I thought that it was?
what? Tell me.
It was like you're your parents' favorite child. And it's
It
like
is
you're
so
giving advice as like the parents' favorite child. And I'm like,
funny
oh,
that you say that because growing up, I always joke that my brother was the golden child. Like
yeah.
if it was anyone, it was not me. And so it was, that's so funny because I actually think somebody has brought that up to me, but it was like in no way it honestly didn't even occur to me about that because it was more of like the collective, like everyone's a daughter, everyone's
Yeah.
like everyone came from someone, right?
Yeah.
And like golden to me also was like abundance and just like bright and optimism. Like, like you see, I see
Yeah.
your smilings. It's like, it's to me, like I wanted the brand to be about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I was like, maybe it ties into like her living in Golden, maybe. I don't know. And I was like, Coors Factory? I don't know.
I love that. Nope. It was just like, what am I going to name this? I guess I have to make an Instagram handle and we're just
Yeah.
running with it. And it's like so funny because it just does not even clock to me anymore because I'm so used to it. But
Yeah.
it's not super serious. It's just
No.
sort of, you know what? This felt like the right thing. It felt like it was like plopped in again, one of those things that was plopped into my brain and
Yeah.
went with it.
I love it. That's perfect. Okay, so obviously there's been a lot of questions that you've asked the cards about like your own life, your own business. And what do you think has been the most difficult part of first I'm going to ask about just tarot in general of you're getting these downloads and then you have to try and figure out like how does this translate to tarot? Like I'm getting these downloads. How do I know what like I'm supposed to what is the realm? What is the rubric? What am I looking to follow? So what obstacles did you face in that transition?
That's a good question. I don't know if I did. I think that it was just like at least from tarot, from like understanding it or doing that, I think that to me, honestly, it was a relief because it
Mm-hmm.
was my whole life did not realize how much I pick up on other people's energy. Like I just thought I was like an emotional person. But it
Yeah.
took like, it took quitting my job and having the time and space to not, knew I was going to take a sabbatical. And so I just was like, okay, I'm going to take a few months off. I would realize that like I would be feeling fine all day. I would be like, I wouldn't talk to somebody. I'd go have a conversation with them and then I'd leave feeling weird or I'd leave feeling some type of way. And I'm like, oh, I'm just like upset today. And it's like, no, the person you were just talking to was upset and you picked it up. And so it was
Oh.
like, so for me, it made it so much easier because I was like I'm not anxious today or I'm not whatever, I'm not angry. I'm tarot is like, here you go. This is like just sort of an explanation as to why you were picking this up and how
Yeah.
you're so sensitive to this. And so it was like almost nice to have that outlet where it was like, okay, great. So it's like, even if if I got some type of download and I'm like, hey, I don't know what this means, or like
Mm-hmm.
whenever I'd use tarot, I'd pull cards and say, can you give me some clarification?
Yeah.
So I'd use that as like like so like if like I'm trying to think of like a totally weird random
I
thing. Like
think I
if
have a good analogy for you. I think it's like when you have some sort of like mental illness for lack of a better word and you're struggling and you're like I have no idea why I'm always sad or I have no idea why I'm always anxious or I have no idea why my mood fluctuates so frequently and then you go to the doctor and they're like well you're bipolar or you have anxiety or you have depression. It then becomes like crystal clear in your brain of like oh my god that makes so much sense.
yeah, I mean it really was pretty staggering because it would be like I would just feel things that it was like, why am I feeling this? This is not how I feel. But then I was like, maybe it is. And now it is so much easier for me to be like, okay, that's not mine. That's not
Yeah.
mine. So it's like been really helpful, but it's really also weird because I feel it in my body. So like
Mm-hmm.
if somebody's like feeling a lot of grief and like feeling it in their chest and I'm around them, I will physically feel it. And so
Huh.
it's like been a very interesting learning process for me to have to like cleanse my energy and get back to myself because like especially intentionally opening myself up to these conversations and things is can be tiring. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's like learning how to balance that. But like in terms of like if it's hard for me to read or do I ever feel like I don't get it?
Mm-hmm.
No. I will say for a caveat for myself. I rarely read for myself, especially for like important things. If it's
Mm-hmm.
like I really need an outside perspective, I ask somebody else about
Yeah.
it. But that's just like it's just
I love that.
becomes innate that it's like I don't the only time that it's like I'm not getting a message is very clear to me that my guides or my client's guides are saying we're not telling you right now and that's on purpose because we don't want you to know. But even
Mm.
then I know that that's the message that
Yeah.
they're saying, you know.
Yeah. It's not like when you're at the eye doctor and you're like, I literally can't read what you have on the screen on line 4.
Totally, totally, it's like I can read it and they're saying you can't say anything about it,
Yeah.
you know.
Sorry, no entry.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay, so obviously there's been no obstacles, which I'm so envious of. I would love to encounter something in my life where it's just like, nope, you've got it. Like perfect. You're doing everything perfect.
It's well, it wasn't like fully like that, right? Like so much of this is nuance that it
Yeah.
was like I would say maybe I should amend that it was like I had to ask enough questions when I was first reading for other people
Hmm.
that like I got the nuance so that I understood it later. So like
But
there
that's
was
just a
definitely
learning curve.
yeah, yeah.
That's not that you just, that's just called learning, actually.
You're right. But it was like in terms of like tarot, right? That's not
Yeah.
necessarily the business side of it, but
Yeah.
like whereas like the skill that was but also right, like that's sort of how you know that you're in flow. And so that's what
Yeah.
I would say finds for anything where it was like, hey, does this feel like you don't have to be putting in your maximal effort because like that's what you should be doing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Okay, so obviously the tarot part was super easy and came very naturally to you. My follow-up question to what obstacles did you face is maybe the tarot side was super easy, but the business side was something that was like, this is something like, how do I make a website? How do I build a business? Like, who do I talk to about this?
Yeah, so this was obviously much more difficult. I think that what I had wished is that I had talked to somebody who had started their own business before doing this, because, like I said, I just started doing this sort of by accident. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
sort of like, networking was really important just from a business standpoint of like learning the ropes of the back end stuff, right? Filing the LLC and doing the website, and which I loved. I loved making my website. It was so much fun. It was like women in STEM, like so, like it's so fun. And so I enjoyed that. Two things that I would say that if I could give somebody advice that I wish I would have had is that it's like it just takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that's like, "Oh, I was an overnight success, blah blah blah," it's like that is so rare that that happens. And for somebody to become an overnight success, they've been putting in the work for a very long time. And so if you're thinking about starting your own business, let me just tell you that it's okay that it takes time. And so like for me, especially like building up my book of business with tarot, people have to trust you. You're not going to like all of a sudden be getting all of these people if like you need people to like most of my business is referral based is
Mm-hmm.
people like, hey, you've read for so and so, they recommended you, that sort of thing. So I think that like having the patience to know that it's going to take time to sort of like build the book of business. The other thing that was a big challenge for me is because they've been in these corporate jobs, I've always known on which Friday how much money I'm getting and that it's every 2 weeks it's coming in my bank account. And so to like go from a very stable income source to like a very like you eat what you kill
Yeah.
um is was shocking. It was
Mm-hmm.
shocking. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like I'm somebody that does not like change. I don't like think like I just like to know where things are. Like I'm maybe a tad controlling, but like for me, finances are like is security. And so
Yeah.
to have to like adapt to the entrepreneurial lifestyle of like fluctuations in money, I still don't love. But
Yeah.
that's part, it's like somebody said to me early on when I was networking that it was like you need to choose your hard. And like that's a
Mm.
hard that I would choose over burning out and hating my life and doing something that feels so inauthentic, right? So it's like I'd rather have that challenge. I think that the thing is I might not ever get used to it, but that's something I recognize about myself and I just have to account for, right? So it's like
Yeah.
I don't think it's a reason not to do something. I think it's like the very much like doing it afraid, you just still do it afraid.
Yeah.
And it's worked out, right? It's sort of like in time, but you don't know that when you're starting, right?
Oh
Like you
yeah.
can't, unless you're like super advanced, you can't like say to your future self, like, hey, what happens? Like, if I had known that, I would have had like 18 less panic attacks. But it's, like that's not how it goes, right? So it's like, just I think that was the hardest part was adjusting to also like you have to do everything when you own your own business, like the social media, the networking, it's like the bill paying, the business development, like you are doing, and I'm sure you know this, like you are doing everything. And so, what people who do not own their own business do not understand is like you don't have somebody in marketing, you don't have somebody in finance, you don't have these structures that are built. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like I'm gonna teach myself Canva, and this is, it's like, what
Oh
do I
yeah.
know? Brand colors, nothing, so it's like trying to sort of like put the wheels on the bus as it's driving. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where tarot was super helpful, because it's like sometimes I'd be like, hey, I feel like I've lost the plot. What do I need to be focusing on? And I would pull like usually it was like chill out or slow down is almost
Yeah.
always be when I'm like, where do you want me to, what do you want me to do? But like that's amazing, right? Like, so, but some people might be like, need the extra kick in the pants, right? Like,
Mm,
so many of my clients, what they really like about the intuitive consulting is that there's somebody holding them accountable. That it's
right.
like, and it's not just entrepreneurs. I have people that are in corporate America, but that it's still like somebody that's gonna like care about the outcome, that's sitting there with you, that it's like, it's just like the accountability, right? I was just reading something that talked about like, I can't remember what percentage it was, but like you're like 60% more likely to get something done when you like commit to it and are like held accountable for it.
Mm.
And so I really enjoy that part of the job, because sometimes it's just like to say, hey, I'm having a bad day. I'm straight up having a bad day and I need help, you know? And so
Yeah.
like I built the intuitive consulting program based off of what I needed when I was starting my own business, like
Yeah.
what really would have benefited me at that time. So that's how I ended up doing it. But yeah, the tarot part, easy. Everything else, really not
Hard.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a reaffirming thing to hear other people like struggle or question if this is something that they're doing, because for me, like personally, I'll get these thoughts of like, well, no, like the desired amount of people haven't listened to my podcast, like maybe I should just throw it in, wrap it up, it's time to go, like, and this thought encroaches on the back of my head of like, well, should I just give up? Is it time for me to just give up? And as I've been talking to more and more people, that is a common thought. It's not just a unique to me thought. Like, I always feel like I have these thoughts and these feelings that are unique to me of like, okay, Sarah, time to reel it in.
But it's hard, right? And I think that it's
Mm-hmm.
also isolating. What I've learned a lot is that it's like you're the one sitting in it by
Mm-hmm.
yourself, right? So I have two thoughts about this. A, tarot would be very good for you to be like, if I'm trying to reach X amount of viewers, what do I need to do? So
Yeah.
like, or if I'm trying to like have, like, depends on what your goal is, right? But if you do that, using tarot to like guide you there will feel really good because it'll give you like direction, right?
Yeah.
But I think also something else that I really believe in is if somebody is running some type of business that didn't have a struggle, or, is giving, okay, let me say this another way. If somebody is giving you advice about running your business that has not struggled, do not take their advice. Do not take their advice because they don't know what they're talking about. And it's
Right.
like, how many times if you like think about the ideas of like business people or like really super successful people, like they had so many things that failed before they did something that
Ultimately
launched, right?
worked.
So
Yeah.
I think that it's like, when you think about like launching a business, I'm not going to ask a CEO of a company, hey, how should I start my own business? I'm going to ask somebody who has had one business that failed and is now owning another business, or
Mm-hmm.
is doing something like that where it's like they lived it, they know where the pitfalls are. What does the CEO know about that?
Yeah.
Right? Or vice versa. Like, I think that's another thing too, why I love being able to do tarot for business is like so many people would go get a career reading from somebody that doesn't know how it is to like exist in the system. And
Yeah.
because I grew up in the system, I know how it
Yeah.
works. And
Right.
so, but I think that at the same time, right, it's like if I have somebody that's like, Jenna, I really want to become a CEO, I don't know, like, how am I going to do that? We're not going to get them connected with somebody that owns like a brick and mortar something or like a restaurant, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
we want to get you connected with like people on that same path.
That's ultimately why I started the podcast or rebranded it to Consider the Source of like, consider where you're getting your information, considering who you're getting your information
Yeah.
from, which is just so, so important, especially as women, especially as business owners that are women. Like, you can't just ask a man what he's done because, first of all, it's going to be different because he's a man and you're a woman. And that is the unfortunate reality that we live in.
Yeah. It's just a fact.
Yeah, and it's just the more that you're able to like niche down and the more that you're able to find someone that's similar to you or that is in a similar lifeboat as you, like you're likely to be able to take more of their advice because it more resonates with you and it's more applicable in your own life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Jenna, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed this conversation and you answering all my questions about
Oh,
tarot. Well, not all of them, but a good portion of them. I've absolutely loved getting to know you and your story. Where can everybody find you and make a booking with you?
I love this. If you just go to goldendaughter.com and then my all of my services and information is there. And then social media is at Golden Daughter Tarot. And so I'm on Instagram and TikTok, which are two very different accounts too. So check those.
Yeah, I feel like the difference between TikTok and Instagram is becoming more and more obvious to me the more that I've been posting on them. Because, like, I am new to the realm of TikTok and it is scary. It is a scary place for me.
It's, you know what? It's talk about what things that you learn when you're starting your own business. What did I know about TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
Not a thing. I made an account and I'm like, I'm a boomer. Like, I don't know how to do this. This is so confusing. But what I found as I do this is the content that does well on Instagram does not do well on TikTok, and the content that does well on TikTok does not do well on Instagram. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I have sort of like, you'll get different stuff depending on which account you follow.
And
Yes.
that is amazing. That is a lot of work, by the way, of creating two different streams of content. I'm like, you, whatever page you go to, you're getting the same thing. I'm sorry, you're getting the same
It is.
thing.
You know what? I will say I am not somebody, when they're like, you should be producing content every day and whatever. Who can do that? I am a human being, not a machine. Like, I cannot, I can't do that. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier when you post like TikTok, like a video every 2 weeks or something
Yeah.
else. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's not. And I also like for me, like I made a content schedule. So it's like I know I'm gonna do these zodiac readings for Instagram. I know that this is, these are the things
Mm,
that I'm gonna do. So it's like I'm a planner. I like to have it all set. And then it's like, okay.
yeah.
But the Golden Daughter TikTok versus the Golden Daughter Instagram, a little bit different.
Just
It's
two different vibes, two different energies that you're providing.
the Instagram, I would say, is like a lot more like you'd get my personality, you
Mm-hmm.
like get to know me on a personal level, and TikTok is like entertainment value for sure. So it's like
Yeah, wait, before you go, I remember watching you do, what were those like?
dowsing rods. Yeah.
Yes.
If anyone listening doesn't know what dowsing rods are, they're basically like metal rods. They're like an L shape, so it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
But you like hold them, and they use them to find well water. And so they're
Hmm.
copper rods that like move based off of energy. So like people used to literally they would like use these rods and they would direct them. They would move to tell you where the water would be. So somebody figured out like you can use these for like divination essentially to like channel things. I ask yes or no questions, but I
Yeah.
for the TikTok crew is pop culture. So like I
Uh-huh.
love pop culture stuff, and so it'll be like, does Justin still love Selena? That one went crazy. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that was I was like, is everyone like what is happening here? But like that's for me like entertainment. That's not like. I mean, I do. It's like actually me channeling, to be very clear. Like
Yeah.
that, I'm not making it up, but like that's meant to be like the quick. We're getting our like immediate gratification sort of thing. But
Yeah.
yes, like you see, like I ask a question and then it'll be like yes or it'll be no. And so, I've actually gotten a lot of clients that way.
I believe it.
Fun for me.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like not like it's hard to explain to somebody like, hey, yeah, I do. Like, I read tarot for business executives and I like help. You know what I mean? It's like very different than does Justin love Selena. It's,
And
I've
then I also
decided
do a little bit of pop culture on the side.
here's like, if I have parting advice for anyone that sort of is considering this, I have always, because I've, been in these corporate environments, I'm like, I have to do this. This is my job. This is the box. And I'm like, I can literally do anything. I can do anything. And it's like, I don't have to box myself in and say, you know what? Just because you are really like hyper successful in the business world doesn't mean that you can't also love Bravo. Like
Hmm.
it's just like I think that that's part of like what makes me me,
Yeah.
and like people either like it or they hate it, but you got to know what you're getting into when you
Oh
get to
yeah.
read it.
Yeah. 100%. I love it. It's authenticity. It's special, spicy authenticity.
Can't you tell like when you are meeting other people or even seeing videos that you're like, what is this? Like I don't vibe with this or like some things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Or when you meet someone and you're instantly like, my gosh, yes, this is life is too short. Life is too
Mm-hmm.
short to not be yourself because there's always somebody out there that has like the same interests, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like finding your crew, if you will. But like you
Mm-hmm.
can't find your crew if you're like putting out a signal for something that has nothing to do with what you like or what you want.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's definitely one of the most important pieces of advice, especially recently with like, hey, everyone go to my TikTok shop and everyone buy the same exact like blue jeans and white bodycon top. Like, okay, so we're all just clones. I'm so confused.
Totally, totally. And that's, so that's something too that is like I think about my business too, because it's like so much for me is like it's high touch, like very personal interactions that I'm not like somebody that is like, yes, everyone needs to like buy into this and I'm like leading you through whatever. It's like, no, like that's not my kit. Like I can't do that. And
Yeah.
so I do think that, but also like there's space for that, right? Like there are people that are like meant to be doing that, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's something about like people always are drawn to authentic energy and
Mm-hmm.
it's even if they don't know it, even if it's subconscious. And so it's like I guarantee all the people that you list that are famous or your friends are like living in their truth
Yeah.
because their energy feels good because when you live in your truth, your energy is up here and people are automatically wanting to be also up here.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, Jenna, it's truly been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. I've loved hearing everything about what you're doing, and I'm
Well,
so excited to see like what else you do and like what pop culture things you're gonna cover on TikTok in the
thank
upcoming
you. If you
weeks
ever
to
have
months.
any like things that you really want to know about, you let me know. I'll make a video for you.
Okay, will do.
Thank you so much. I love this, and I also love everything that you're doing. Don't quit. This is gonna
Yeah.
do for you what it is meant to do for you. I would tell. Listen, I'm very intuitive. I would tell you if I got a bad vibe about it, which I do frequently. I didn't, so feel
Oh,
good.
good.
Keep doing
Thank
it.
you.
Stay
I'm
on your path.
honored.
But good. I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, and thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one. Bye.